world is watching,
Right.
you know, and not for nothing. I you know, as much slack as people want to give the UFC and Dana White, you got to up to them in the way they're conducting business. You know, they haven't skipped a beat,
That's right.
and they're pretty much setting the precedent of what it is to compete with this, you know, in the pandemic and everything that you have to go through, all the red tape you have to go through, and athletes to the point where they're actually able to make it and compete. And, you know, we've lost some people to the testing, but at the same time, it's a very safe environment, and as if anything, it's actually made the UFC even more even safer environment, just because there's so much attention going to every single person every single day.
As an athlete, did you like to hear your coach, like at Fight Island, there's no fans, so you can kind of hear the coaches a little bit too much?
Right.
Would that affected you when you fought?
Nah, I used to love to hear my coaching. I mean, I used to love to actually hear what the other coaches are saying, and you know, I would have loved that, because I would always pick up on what the coach was saying. Like when I was fighting Dan Henderson, I remember fighting him, and he's moving around, and every once in a while you just like catch what the other corner's saying, and I caught what the other corner was saying. And good thing I caught it, because what they were telling him to do,
Set up.
he was about to send me to hell with that punch.
Yeah.
What he kept saying was, he was saying, Bizding. That's what he kept saying, Bizding. So that's the left inside kick, or the right inside kick. No, left inside kick and then overhand right. And that's exactly what he caught Bizding with. So when I heard that in a fight, I'm just like, it was like immediately what I watched out for. So to your point, I would have loved to be able to hear what the corner saying.
Some of these fighters have actually heard some of the commentators, and they've made adjustments, you know, from what Daniel Cormier has said, or Bisping, or whoever. Did you ever hear the commentators while you were out there? I know you had fans in the stands, so it's a little bit different.
Every once in a while, I'll be able to hear the commentators. Every once in a while, but it would be like if like something exciting happened, or like if I got near the corner, then I'll be able to hear what they're saying. But I was never. It was funny because my mom would always be like, you know, Rashad, why don't you listen to what Joe Rogan is saying? And I'm like, Ma, I can't hear what Joe Rogan is saying, but now I will be able to hear what Joe Rogan is saying. It would be something totally different, because, you know, when you listen to the commentators always give you the adjustments of what you should do. You know, they're like coaches if you listen to them, you know. So it could be quite the advantage if you have a pretty good hearing and pretty good ability to listen and do what you hear.
But that's you know, you're multitasking big time, because you've got so many things going. Rashad, we're up against the clock. Look for him on Twitter at Sugar Rashad Evans. Sugar Rashad Evans, also CBS Sports HQ. And I tell you what, one of my favorite people on the planet. You mentioned Rogan. We'll have Rogan on. We'll have Bruce Buffer on. The faces and the names and the people that have made the UFC what it is today. And we'll try to reacquaint ourselves with Dana White. He was an early guest and a regular guest on this program in a different generation. And we'll do our best to bring Dana back into the fold as well. Rashad, our best to you, the talented cast and crew that make up your fam, and all of your folks you work with down there at CBS. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Always a gladiator in my mind, but somebody with a great big heart. And do me a favor, next time you talk to him, tell Tom Minkle I send my best.
I will do so. Scott, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Everyone for listening. You listeners, much love, and stay prayed up during this pandemic, and we'll get through this. Take care, and Scott, I hope to talk to you soon.
Oh, God bless you, Rashad. Thank you. You know, he said, and one of my favorite quotes, my mother is my hero just because. What life becomes about is overcoming adversity, and I watched her overcome so many things in life. And for him to sit back and look at this, when he made that comment, when I'm quoting him, of course, but when he made that comment, it's about strength of character, strength of person. And Rashad Evans has got it hands down. I just admire Rashad Evans so very much. All right, quick timeout, Zach. We're going to get to it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's credit our friends at Mullets, because that's where we're eating a late breakfast, early lunch today. Mullets on Des Moines South Side, right by the ballpark. Chow How for wrestlers and mixed martial arts fans alike. Look for us there today at lunchtime. It'll be Mullets where it's party in the, no, what is it? Business in the front, party in the rear.
Yeah.
I don't know. I butchered it. We'll be back after this. You're listening to ESPN.
Stay tuned. Casper and Bogle will be right back with more USA Takedown.
Communities need leaders. The birthplace of Bob Feller, Van Meter, Iowa, has two. Paul Szynski and Jim Sinclair have always been there for their community and for the thing that drives us, wrestling. In a position to help or need a cause to get behind, your neighbors and friends can use a hand. Leaders always come together to help, to plan, and to work to make their communities a better place to live. So special thanks to Jim Sinclair and Paul Szynski, two examples of men who lead. Follow these two professionals on LinkedIn for investment opportunities and more.
We try to hide our truths about our mental and substance use disorders from the world, and sometimes from ourselves. Saying I'm fine is a facade. By facing our problems, recovery begins. And we are empowered to speak our truth. Join the Voices for Recovery. Speak up. Reach out.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Defense Soap Facts. Dateline, Cleveland, Ohio. For 12 years, he competed. For 17 years, he coached. And for 30 years, he's policed the streets of Cleveland. He saw teams and programs decimate borne disease, a wrestler's worst nightmare. He didn't like the chemical-based products on the market and knew that there had to be a better way. Defense. He found religion in the make up the basis for Defense Soap. Tea tree and eucalyptus oil. Defense Soap. All natural, safe to use. It's available around the world now at defensesoap.com.
The wrong financial decisions can undermine the best intentions. Whether concerned for your business's financial future, Trent Weatherman will develop a plan, identifying your goals, and set you on the path to financial security. Trent makes plans for people, no matter your goals. Trent has access to top-rated products and services to help you meet them. In April of 2019, NerdWallet identified Northwestern Mutual as the best life insurance company. Northwestern Mutual is in the top 10 U.S. independent investment broker-dealers in the United States. See the difference for yourself at TrentWeatherman.nm.com.
All right, welcome back to the Wild Rose Casino Studios of USA Takedown with Casper and Bogle. You're listening to ESPN Radio. We're talking MMA and wrestling. Next up is the guy who is setting the world on fire. We almost lost him in the world of wrestling, in particular Greco. And there's a lot of reasons why. We're going to touch base on that. His appearance today, courtesy of our friends at Barbarian Apparel. And Zach, what am I wearing today, and why are you jealous?
I'm wearing Barbarian Apparel, and I'm jealous because it looks warm and it's a little cold in here. It's very warm.
It's like you could hang meat in here.
Oh, yeah.
You really could. You could hang meat in here, and it would not spoil for weeks. But I do want to thank Joshua Sasfi, his beautiful wife. They've got an ever-expanding facility, the home of...
It's looking good, too.
Huh?
It's looking good.
Are you gonna venture out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna try out to Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Why is it two of our great sponsors, Defense Soap and Barbarian, are both from Ohio, Cleveland and Cincinnati?
That's wrestling country.
It is wrestling country. Evidenced by Tom Ryan. Is Tom Ryan in my estimation, he is leader of coaches in terms of the ability to speak on behalf of our sport and affect a positive effect based on what he says. I mean, he is a proponent. He's the modern day Dan Gable, yeah?
Yeah, I believe so. And if you've seen what they're doing with their new facility out there, that thing is like the Mecca. That's like one of the coolest, biggest rooms I've seen in a long time.
I just think that Tom Ryan, when he left Hofstra, I was questioning his ability to take over a program and have the effect that he's had on the wrestling community out at Ohio State. But what a job he's done, and a remarkable job at that. I would think that he is perhaps one of the best coaches in the country for a fact. Mm-hmm. You agree? He just moved, by the way. He calls me up, and he's moving his house. He said he's sizing down because it's just he and his wife now at the house. But I said, "You're calling me while you're moving?" He said, "Well, yeah." He said, "I understand you're going back on the air." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to wish you the best." And I thought, well, that is ultimately pretty darn cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite Tom Ryan memories, I believe it was at Wells Fargo Arena. It was Tony Ramos versus Logan Stieber, and Tom Ryan was sitting. He wasn't cornering Logan Stieber at the time, and he was sitting in the stands right next to Terry Brands. And there was this controversial call. They had a refs challenge, and they went over to show Tom Ryan and Terry Brands sitting next to each other, and those guys were just, they were going at it. It was great.
We're talking with Zach Bogle here in the studio, co-host of this program. Do want to thank, and by the way, it took about 6 months to activate and reactivate, to go on air, and we took the invitation of ESPN to do that. But I want to thank Josh, his family, for being there in partnership with us, and then of course Zach, you and the fam. Your mother Lori has been just absolutely huge in support of you.
She's a huge fan of mine.
Yeah. So I'm just.
She's the only fan of mine too.
Well, no, that's not true. I got a friend request from Mr. Bogle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad. Yeah, he doesn't post nearly as much as my mom, so you won't notice that.
But I thought it cool. All of a sudden I get all these posts that are friends of yours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They couldn't have liked me before, but no. Now that you're a partner of mine on air, now all of a sudden, boom! I got a whole bunch of new friends.
Yeah, that's how it works. When you're from a small town, the town comes with you. So.
I love it. Tell everybody what town you are in.
I'm from southern Iowa, Centerville, Iowa. If you've heard of Lake Rathbun, Iowa's ocean, it's about 10 miles from there.
No, is it bigger than Saylorville Lake, for example?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, by far.
Is it really?
It's only second to Lake Red Rock.
So Saylorville is more of a canoe lake, and Red Rock is more of a powerboat lake?
I would say Saylorville is more the minor leagues, and if you want to go to the major leagues, you go to Lake Rathbun.
I like that. You're saying what, Danny? What does that mean? I got 1 minute till break.
That means 1 minute. Yes,
1 minute till break. All right. This portion of our show brought to you by Barbarian. You're talking about Barbarian apparel, and why is it important to the community? Because they build gear. Okay, singlets, sweats, gaiters. We've got gaiters coming that go around your neck. You pull them up, and
mask
they're all
up.
Boom, a mask.
Yeah.
What? And they can customize that kind of apparel for you in a very short period of time. Send it right to you, your team, your family, whatever. Let's say you want to go Team Bogle, okay? Yeah. They can do that. And all you got to do is come up with the design. They can help you with that as well. Look for them online at barbarianapparel.com. When we come back, hopefully we'll have Giangelo, but we'll see. We're still efforting our conversation with Giangelo Hancock, the master at Dumpin' Dudes. More on the other side. True Americans, Bogle, Casper. This is USA Takedown. Right here from Des Moines, Iowa. Stay tuned.
You know you like it. Have no fear. The True Americans will be right back with more USA Takedown.
Live music is back. Saturday, August 15th, Arch Allies return to Wild Rose Casino and Resort. Don't miss this outdoor concert event featuring the best from rock's biggest bands, Journey, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, and more. Tickets on sale now for just $5. 20-day of show. Get your tickets now. Arch Allies at Wild Rose in Jefferson.
Building relationships during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
The Defense Soap Facts. Dateline, Cleveland, Ohio. For 12 years, he competed. For 17 years, he coached. And for 30 years, he's policed the streets of Cleveland. He saw teams and programs decimated by skin-borne disease, a wrestler's worst nightmare. He didn't like the chemical-based products on the market and knew that there had to be a better way. A better defense. He found religion in the ingredients that make up the basis for Defense Soap. Tea tree and eucalyptus oil. Defense Soap. All natural, safe to use. It's available around the world now at defensesoap.com. Calderberg's PBS Landscaping knows what grows best in Iowa because they're from Iowa. Locally owned and operated, Calderberg's is a full-service landscaping and lawn care company. Everything you need from lawn care and landscape design to water features, tree planting, irrigation, and snow removal. Matt Calderberg and his staff are great. They take care of my family year-round. They can take care of yours, too. My office and home, they cover it all. They're my friends and should be yours as well. Visit them at calderberglandscaping.com.
Welcome back to the program. Burroughs and Evans to start with. We round out hour number one with the Olympic Kid on Twitter. Olympic Kid Giangelo Hancock joins us here on ESPN. Now, Giangelo, you're largely regarded as the heir apparent to the sport. In other words, you're the man that's overcoming so much, and that's public perception, the desire to participate in the discipline, but you are the man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Scott.
The quote I want to go to, Zach, before I go to you, sir. They want to see you do good, but never better than them. Remember that. That's a quote directly from Giangelo Hancock. And I agree with that. Everybody wants to see you do good, but never better than them. That's kind of self-defeating, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Remember.
Huh.
Giangelo, your Twitter name is @OlympicKid. Is that foreshadowing?
It is. It is. You know, I'm speaking things into existence. I want them to know I'm a kid, but the Olympic one.
This summer, there's been a lot of Twitter talk going on. A lot of I don't know if it's the quarantine or what, but people are excited on wrestling Twitter. There was this whole freestyle Greco thing going on, and people were calling everybody out. I believe it was Kyvan Gatson had said something to you. Is that a match you would ever do?
Yeah, the Freco matches. Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. I've been trying to get it in. You know, I have them cards going on, and I would love to get on one of those. Go crazy.
Yeah, we're excited. I would love to see that. I'm a big fan of both of you guys.
Now, you got to remember, okay, all right. So I would have a hard time being impartial no matter who Kyvan faces. His dad and I were best buds, and his late father. But Kyvan likes his ice cream. So you may catch
I was going to say, he eats too much ice cream, I think.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
no, not at all.
Some of us put weight on a little quicker than others.
Yeah.
I can look at a carton of ice cream and gain 5 pounds.
Yeah, my wrestling high school coach told me that I was a career 106 pounder, so I could eat ice cream all day and nothing's going to happen.
I hate guys like you. I really do. Okay. All right. So our guest, courtesy of Barbarian Apparel, Giangelo Hancock, the master at dumping dudes. People talk about you in that way, the master at dumping dudes. What does that mean to you?
Man, I guess that would mean I got a forte at putting people on their neck.
Yeah. In a good way.
In a good way.
Legally.
You'll knock them out, but help them up.
Well, that's the reason I started wrestling, really, was because it was legal, you know. I was getting all this trouble. My mom was like, why are you always getting these fights, yada, yada? And so my friends were like, try wrestling, dude. I was like, well, it's a legal way of doing stuff. So I just stayed with it.
Giangelo Hancock, our guest. Let's take him back, Zach. Flashback. You were 16 years old. Your name then, Tracy, still is, but you prefer Giangelo, and we agree. The Colorado wrestling world knew you. You were an incredibly gifted athlete in need of direction and a positive role model. And you were ready to give up the sport. Why?
Well, you know, at the time I was just, I was going through things, and, sports wasn't on my mind. I was going through real life, thinking about, getting a job. And at the time, I didn't have aspirations to see the potential wrestling could offer me and what it possibly held for my future. And so, yeah, I'm sure, as you know, extremely grateful for TC Dazzler. He came into my life, and, he changed my entire outlook on that.
Love me some TC.
He's the man, reverse king.
Don't give him my number, though, because he'll want on the show. I'm kidding. Give him my number. Zach, final question. We're up against the clock. Final question between you and Mr. Dumpin' Dudes, Giangelo Hancock.
Yeah, Giangelo, how has training been since COVID happened? Are you able to find a room somewhere to wrestle?
Right, yeah, I have. It's been here and there. The thing is I got a lot of coaches that I grew up with. I'm blessed to be able to be in Colorado Springs, as a local guy, and that's where the Olympic Training Center is and whatnot. But that being said, I grew up with a lot of these local coaches, these Fargo coaches and stuff, and so I've been able to contact these guys and reach out and come to their facilities and stuff. So I've been training at a lot of places, like some BJJ places, some jiu-jitsu places, some actual wrestling facilities. But get it in when you can. That's what makes the difference. So
Giangelo Hancock is our guest. We would have had him on a little earlier, but you know what? Time allowing. It's never easy just to jump into a conversation, but we're going to have him back on, and I'll tell you why. Because I agree. I think he's not just the future of Greco. I think he can help set the stage for youth to make that decision. Hey, I want to wrestle Greco, not freestyle, or I want to wrestle Greco and freestyle. Is there, Giangelo, is that a sin to wrestle both and not focus on one?
I don't think so. I'm not one of those guys who want to say wrestling is wrestling, but I am a guy who believes that in a sense, wrestling is wrestling, but it's not, entirely. Right. I think that if you do wrestle, though, any style, no matter what, you're improving your understanding of your body awareness, the awareness of wrestling, mat awareness, just it's experience. So I think no matter what, if you're getting it in, you're going to choose eventually what your heart's going to choose for you. Or maybe you're just a stud muffin. You can do it both ways.
Well, not everybody's like my buddy Ric Flair is capable of being both styling and profiling, right? Hancock wears it well. Barbarian is your sponsor, and they make the gear that you're proud to sport, right?
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Shout out to Josh. That's one of the greatest sponsors I've ever been a part of, where I ever had my name attached to. He's the man.
Well, you're going to hear us talking about Barbarian Apparel because they outfit us as well. Appreciate that. Giangelo, we want you to be in touch with us. You can be in touch with him on Twitter at Olympic Kid, just like it spells, only with 2 D's on the end of kid. Why That's the right. 2 D's?
I feel like that was my little flair. That was my little, my little touch.
It's like Wheel of Fortune. Can I buy a D? Well, you can't buy a D. That's one you have to pick. You have to buy a vowel, okay? But Giangelo got himself an extra D. G, it's always good to talk to you, man. We're in your corner no matter what, and huge fans, always.
Hey, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me on. Next time, hopefully we can go on a little bit longer.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Answer the phone early. That's why I texted you the night before. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon, G. Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. There we go. Twitter, at Olympic Kid. In apparel. Great guy. Great first hour, by the way. First one brought to you in part by Trent Weatherman, your Northwestern Mutual Financial Consultant. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 is coming up. It'll be from the USA Takedown from the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Up next, it's the Legends Hour. Chael Sonnen, can you mouth that roared? Boss Rutan, one of the guys with ultimately the most class. Perhaps you don't know why or how he came about the name Boss. We'll tell you. He'll tell you in hour number 2. But we'll start hour number 2 with one of my heroes and one of my buddies. She's very close, and I hope he will be for you too. Randy, the Natural Couture. You're listening to USA Takedown on ESPN.
KRNT Des Moines. A Des Moines Radio Group station and home of ESPN Radio. This is 1350 ESPN. Simulcasting on 102.1 FM. Des Moines sports leader.
All right, welcome back. It is USA Takedown. Bogle and Casper, the true Americans. Did hour 1, you saw the script. You saw the guest lineup well before today's program initiation. Tell me a little bit about your impression of the first hour.
Oh, I thought it was awesome. This is my first hour ever really on radio. So to start with those legends, all those legends, it's a weird feeling, but what better way to start than with some royalty?
Yeah, the royalty as well. I love it. You know what I like is that the guys like, and we'll talk about our first guest, Randy Couture. He didn't seek out a career in motion pictures. It sought him out because he has a natural appeal. You follow me? There's something about him that guys want to be like him and girls want to be with him, okay? And Big John McCarthy and I have often challenged Randy, you date some of the prettiest girls in the world, okay? You just don't need to marry them all. That's the bottom line, because Scotty Colt said so. He joins us now, does the natural, my friend Randy Couture. Randy, good morning. How are you in Las Vegas, Nevada?
Very good. How are you guys?
I'm good, man. I go back to your roast.
Hence the conversation went right to marriage. What the heck?
Yeah. Well, you found one that everybody believes, you included. I think even you, first and foremost, believe that Mindy is that gal you intend to spend the rest of your life with. And by God, I'm so glad you waited, man. She is just an absolute darling of a gal. Love that girl. You can tell her I said so.
Man. Thank you.
Is she gonna continue her political aspirations?
Yeah, I believe she is. I think this really stirred it up even more for her, and to have the GOP establishment in the state of Nevada down and back her. You know, it just motivated her all the more. So
did that disappoint you?
See her back. No, I wasn't surprised, honestly. As much as we don't really want to be a socialist country, and you want to talk about what's going on the other side of the aisle, I know that we have a lot of problems on the Republican side of the aisle as well. And so, I wasn't surprised.
Randy Couture, I guess, UFC legend, fight legend. I mean, he was there in the old school days when you fought more than once a night, sometimes with gloves, sometimes without. Which did you prefer, gloves or no gloves?
I think the gloves definitely served the purpose. They were one more thing you had to work around, just like, not wearing shoes or wearing shoes. There's a dexterity issue there, and so you have to train the way you're going to compete. Train with shoes or without shoes. Train with gloves or without gloves. Most people assume that the glove was made to protect the person's hand. The glove was actually made to protect the person's head.
Yeah. Some guys a little more so than others, but some guys are suffering.
I think it does protect the hand as well.
Yeah.
A lot of fragile bones in the hand. So having that glove on there and being able to tape. We weren't allowed to tape early on in the sport either. And then they allowed you to tape up to the knuckles, the back of the knuckles, and that prevented a lot of injuries and issues with the.
Your relationship with me over the years has afforded me some I think very good insight. I remember a fight you had. It was, I think, number 3 in a series. Anybody come to mind? I'm standing in the tunnel, tears streaming down my face. I'm in a olive green double-breasted suit for the fat man, and no tie because, quite frankly, I was too big to make a tie look good. And you had just finished getting covered with blood. I mean, you had white trunks. Do you remember the trunks?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, and you said, "What's wrong?" I said, "All the blood," and he said, "Yeah, but none of it's mine." Okay, and there was a fight you lost, and here's one of those learning moments. And I said, fighting, losing. He said, "Everybody loses every once in a while." He said, "The fight game is never perfect, but that's what you aspire to." And I thought about that. I went, "Isn't that just kind of like a microcosmic look at life?" I think it is. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and I think that's why athletics are so important for our kids. I think that's why the sport of wrestling is so amazing. You're never more vulnerable than you are standing out in the center of that mat, and that is absolutely what life is all about.
Randy, my name's Zach. I'm Scott's co-host here. I got a question for you. UFC stars nowadays cross over to the mainstream media. Do you feel like you kind of paved the way for a lot of these guys, being that you're in movies?
Oh, I don't know if I paved any ways. I certainly, there were others that were foraying into film and getting an opportunity. My management back in the late 90s and early 2000s just were from the film industry, and they honestly believed that kind of the next action stars were going to come out of mixed martial arts because there was such an authenticity there in the athletes that were competing. And they pushed me into a lot of casting meetings and meetings with producers and so on and so forth. And it was interesting back then. It was me, Boss Rutan, and Rampage Jackson. What a crew, right? But we'd go into some of those meetings, and my cheeks would hurt from laughing so hard. Those guys are so funny. But you get guys that would push back, like, "Oh my gosh, you're one of those cage fighters, like somehow we're criminals or going to hurt them or something." And then to see that transition, see it change, you have guys come from 2 floors down to come up and say hi because they heard we were in the building. It was a complete turnaround, 180 from what people thought we were and what the sport was all about to where it's come to now. And so I think that natural journey has opened a lot of doors for a lot of people.
Bogle and Casper here live in the ESPN studios. Wild Rose, I want to thank them. Sponsorship has been very important. Our Defense Soap Newsmaker hotline, 515-244-1350. Our guest, the natural Randy _Couture on Twitter, 6-time UFC champ. A guy who, and this is what's important, he was never afraid to stand up for what is right, his estimation or not. It doesn't matter. The fact is he stood up against the establishment that was the UFC. He stood up against manufacturers that were doing others or him or his family wrong. Randy, you've always been the champion of the, and I don't want common man to come term, but of the everyday person, the everyday guy, the everyday fighter. Where does that come from?
I have no idea. I guess right is right.
It's not as cut and dried for everybody as you just made it seem. I mean, let's face it, people struggle with opinions and being able to stand, is it going to be right for me in 5 days, 10 days, a year, based on what I just said? I mean, you've been able to make a statement and stand up for that statement, knowing that is your conviction. Right or wrong, that's where you are. I happen to agree with you politically, and many we have a shared and common history with my family, taking you out of the hallway and saying you're going to wrestle. You discovered wrestling, what, in 7th grade?
I was in 6th grade.
6th grade.
And went to one of my best friends, Bobby Stevenson. His brothers were in the junior high program. We were still in grade school. And so we went to watch his brothers wrestle. And they thought it was funny. They entered him and I in the novice tournament at the district meet. We'd never wrestled a day in our lives. But, I pinned a kid with a headlock. I got my first bloody nose.
Yeah.
I just had a blast. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a blast. And the wrestling coach was Coach John Caseberry. He was the junior high coach. And next year I rolled into 7th grade after being thrown into that novice tournament. And he remembered me. He was the PE coach at the junior high and said, "Hey, wrestling starts next week. I'll see you there." So that was the first official, turning out for the team and being part of the program. And I was hooked. I mean, it just seemed to fit me. I'd heard stories my whole life how great a wrestler my dad was, and thought maybe if I got on the mat and got on the team, maybe he'd come around and pay a little more attention. That didn't really work, but I found my calling for sure.
And Coach Casebeer, by the way, the origination of my name is Casebeer. Okay, so this guy is actually a cousin of mine. He is well known as an official in something called the Casebeer Inch. What is the Casebeer Inch, Randy?
Well, he's a great guy. I still have the opportunity to have a relationship with him to this day. I don't think he realized how many young men, especially, he was influencing through wrestling and through his demeanor as a coach and a person. But yes, he gets right down there and uses his fingers to tell everybody just how close the guy is to being pinned. So they started calling it the Casebeer Inch.
And people in the stands are shouting; they're yelling for it. I mean, he's as much of a. I mean, people look at Coach as a tremendous official. How many ups and downs he's had, I don't know. But his knees are going to be in worse shape than yours and mine. I'll guarantee you that right now. Oh, our guest is the natural Randy Couture. You might know him. If you don't know him from the UFC or from competition, he's a celebrated dancer, a TV personality, one of the stars of the films The Expendables 1, 2, and 3, The Scorpion King. Is there, by the way, an Expendables 4 the docket?
There is an Expendables 4 on the docket. They were originally saying we were going to shoot. Well, it's been pushed a couple times in the last couple years. I did get a script this last spring. It's a very good script. I was very excited about it. Then we're talking about this summer starting shooting, but obviously with everything else going on in the rest of the world, I don't think, we'll see if it stays on schedule. But I think it will get made. It's just a function of when now.
and where you've gone on record on my programs of stating that you like location shooting, even though you're gone from home for a month or more at a time. What is your favorite place to shoot?
Man, well, we shot Expendables 2 and 3 in Bulgaria.
Right.
I just finished a film called Alpha Code, which just came out recently. We shot that in Prague, and I have to say that is one of the most spectacular cities to visit and spend time in. That whole region was just an amazing place. The historic, everything. The buildings were never destroyed during the Second World War, so a lot of it's all still standing, and just a remarkable place. We had a blast there.
USA Takedown guest Randy Couture. And I wanted you on the first show, Randy, and you readily agreed, said anything I can do, I'll be happy to do it. I appreciate that. You've always been in our corner because we have one desire and one goal, and that's to promote the sport of wrestling. If, in fact, MMA is in your future, cool. But wrestling first and foremost. Why is wrestling so important to you as an athlete and a person?
Well, I think it was an important part of the journey for me as a young man, and my growth as an adult man. I think the character and resilience that I learned through practice and competition out on that mat have allowed me a lot of the success that I've experienced in my life, and I think it's important. It's just an important my mind for our young people.
I agree.
So happy that we have a female counterpart now that's really flourishing and exploding.
You're right.
I think all those things are great and important. I think I just don't think there's on the planet to teach the kind of character that you need to get through life. The ups and downs, the volatility of it, you getting out of it exactly what you put into it. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to spend some time and be diligent and be smart, not just go out and train hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody assumes it's obviously a physical sport, but it's a thinking man's sport as well.
Nobody's been interviewed more than Randy Couture. He's doing interviews every week, and I don't remember what the date was on your last fight, Randy, but you're more popular now than ever before.
Well, I don't know. It's certainly transitioned a little bit, and that's been fun and interesting. More people starting to recognize me from film and TV work than from getting in the cage and fighting. It's been 9 years since I fought last.
That's amazing.
And been having a blast working with the PFL, commentating with a new brand, a new format for MMA, and that's been fun being on ESPN and talking about athletes from, I think we had 16 countries represented in the last season. Pretty remarkable, and the sport has just exploded. It's been amazing to be a part of that.
Let's go to Zach. Zach?
Randy, I got another wrestling question for you. You were a Greco-Roman wrestler after college. Do you think that's the best style of wrestling to transition into MMA, being that there's a lot of clinch situations?
I do. I think it's one of two styles that we compete in the U.S. that directly translate to mixed martial arts. Collegiate style is the other style, but Greco is something I started doing in the Army, and my favorite style. I wanted to be, an Olympian or a world champion in Greco because we hadn't had many of those in the U.S. My coach, Coach Hauk, was one of the first back in '87, beating Frank Anderson in the finals, and we happened to be at the same weight class. So seeing him and getting was a big motivator for me to want to be the next world champion in Greco. Never really got that far, but I definitely developed some of the best friends and best people I've ever met through working with the national team and wrestling Greco. And ultimately that led me to getting a scholarship to go to Oklahoma State and compete in college, which was the other style that I think directly translates to mixed martial arts.
Sometime I want you a linguist as well. A lot of people don't know that about you. You speak German fluently, and I would like you to, at some point in the future, not today, but I would like you to, do a Takedown promo in German. Would you be willing to accept that challenge? Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want you swearing in German.
I can't promise that. That was the first things you learned.
I know, right? Isn't that the truth? All right. So obviously life changes and things change, best laid plans and all that. It was your original intent to have Ryan, your son, take over the reins of what has become Extreme Couture Incorporated, as it were, including the Extreme Couture cologne, which I'm wearing today in your honor. So I did not smell like Seattle. That's why I wanted to smell fresh and clean using my Extreme Couture cologne. And I don't know how long is it good in a bottle? Is there a time?
I don't know.
It still smells good.
They are. I don't think they go bad, but I do think they will evaporate. I think I've got some cases in the gym that are probably evaporating to nothing now.
They're still.
They're still. Yeah. Yeah, it's been one of the weird things with this whole COVID thing. Ryan is coming to the end of his career, deciding that he was probably going to walk away from fighting after about 12 years, and he left a perfectly good job at Wells Fargo to come help me run a gym, and then ended up fighting. And I knew when he made that commitment that the gym and that entity was at some point going to be his, and I felt like that time had come.
Right.
He's gotten married, to a wonderful gal a few years back, and they're looking to start their family, and he'd been fighting, and he's a much more rational human than I am. He'd been fighting for 12 years and kind of felt like he'd done what he wanted to do, and I knew when he got his nose straightened back out that he was probably done getting punched in the face. And so when we started the paperwork to sign the gym over to him, and then of course COVID broke out. So I'm like, "Here, son, handing you a perfectly good business, but you got to shut it down." It was a bit strange, honestly, but he's done a great job. He stepped up and really kind of figured out how to navigate through this new territory, and the gym is still doing very, very well, even with all this COVID restrictions and everything else that's going on. So, good for him.
Yep.
I knew he was more than capable, and good to have I think a fresh set of eyes and some new energy involved in running the entity that is Extreme Couture MMA.
That's kind of like why Zach got involved in this program. My invitation was because I wanted a fresh set of eyes and ears, and a completely different generation of folks. And I tell you what, he's nailing it, as you have, and as Ryan is. By the way, Ryan's a terrific interview. I've enjoyed every conversation I've ever had with Ryan, on or off air. He's a lot like you, Randy, and I think that's high praise indeed. I think he's a fine young man, but he's been well raised and with great expectations, unaffected by the celebrity of his father. I think he's been a real tribute to great parenting and great leadership. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's all his mother.
It's probably right. Hey, next time you're in town, best breakfast place, I'm taking you there. It's called Mullets. Will you take the Mullets challenge? Everything's
go
healthy.
Right back to my college days when I actually had a mullet.
What's the name of the restaurant? Eskimo Joe's?
Eskimo Joe is very popular in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it's a great place. And they used to hire the wrestling team. The Bedlam, Oklahoma State, OU match football game was a huge, huge game every year, and they alternate between Norman and Stillwater. And whenever we had the game in Stillwater, they would hire the wrestling team to be the bouncers and the doormen at Eskimo Joe's, because it could get a little crazy.
Yeah, it can. I'll tell you what, it's always crazy. At Extreme Couture, look for the gym in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can get in, but you got to have a reservation. You got to make contact before you approach the door. Please do so, especially of COVID. 6-time UFC champ, movie actor, star, films like Expendables and The Scorpion King, Randy the Natural Couture has been our guest. RC, always good to talk to you, man, and thank you very much for joining us in the inaugural edition of USA Takedown.
Thanks, and congratulations. I wish you all the best. I know you're going to kick butt.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. How can a guy go wrong when you got him in your corner? Oh,
you can't do no wrong.
You're so lucky. You get to talk to the guys that I just absolutely love. They They're so important to me in my career, but they're more important to me as a friend.
Yeah.
I can call him and say, hey, if you're really caught in the middle of a blizzard and you just shot an elk, what do? Clean out the elk and crawl inside for warmth?
He's got the answer?
He's got the answer.
All right.
Yeah. You'd be surprised what that answer might be. All right, we're going to continue with the conversation. More great guests as well. More from the Wild Rose Casino Studios. You're listening to the True Americans, Casper and Bogle. It's USA Takedown on Iowa Sports Leader, ESPN. Stay tuned.
All guests on USA Takedown appear on the Defense Soap Newsmaker hotline. Joe Rogan said, "That stuff is awesome. I just ordered a ton of it and use it every day." Defense Soap. It's what the pros use.
Live music is back. Saturday, August 15th, Arch Allies return to Wild Rose Casino and Resort. Don't miss this outdoor concert event featuring the best from rock's biggest bands, Journey, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, and more. Tickets on sale now for just $5. 20-day of show. Get your tickets now. Arch Allies at Wild Rose in Jefferson.
You might not know everyone in your community, but if you did, you'd see that people from mental and substance use disorders are all around. Reach out for support and begin your recovery journey. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
The Defense Soap Facts. Dateline, Cleveland, Ohio. For 12 years, he competed. For 17 years, he coached. And for 30 years, he's policed the streets of Cleveland. He saw teams and programs decimated by skin-borne disease. A wrestler's worst didn't like the chemical-based products on the market and knew that there had to be a better way. A better defense. He found religion in the ingredients that make up the basis for Defense Soap. Tea tree and eucalyptus oil. Defense Soap. All natural, safe to use. It's available around the world now at defensesoap.com. The term barbarian was first used in ancient Greece. The athletes were said to be barbarians. Today's modern athletes embrace the hard work when wearing the great gear from Barbarian Apparel. You make the choice. Custom graphics, the best sublimation, colors that pop, and logos that matter. Barbarian provides great service before and after the process. Make the right choice. Choose Barbarian Apparel. BarbarianApparel.com.
Here we go again. It is USA Takedown. Bogle, Casper with you. And you got to talk to Randy Couture. I know, and initially this will wear off, that it'll be commonplace where you get to talk to the greats.
Yeah, it's I'm still settling in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, just to have somebody available like that can offer you commentary, much like Rashad did, or Jordan, or Jordan Burroughs. What a class act, huh?
Yeah, there was no easing into this thing, man. You started off with Olympic gold.
Right. Hey, you're listening to the program brought to you in part by all of our great sponsors. Go online to our website. Joshua, what is our official website address? Speak it into the microphone if you would, sir. The official show website address.
www.usatakedown.com.
www.usatakedown.com. I love that. It's simple. It's easy to find.
Can we shout out the Twitter?
Would you?
Yeah, the Twitter is at USA Takedown Show.
USA Takedown Show.
Yes.
All right. And then from there, they can comment. They can even request guests who they want to hear from, who the listener.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys, everybody.
You know, and by the way, those fans that are watching you on YouTube, on your YouTube channel, and there are a bunch of folks that are watching your product and loving it.
Yeah. Yeah,
you believe Stalemates to be a comedic effort, but you know what? Below the surface of that comedy, there's a lot of truth there. There's a lot of frustration. Okay, but what I found in being interviewed by you is also a lot of fun, and I noticed that I was largely unedited.
Yeah, we tried to shoot from the hip and just keep it, as
you were frustrated though because I gave you very long answers.
No, it's all right. I'll tell you what, your numbers, your views, did better than a lot of other people.
Is that right?
Yeah, you had a lot of lot of views.
You're saying I'm popular.
They're saying that. I didn't.
Is that right?
Yeah. But I agree, though. I agree.
So
numbers don't lie,
all
right?
right? So do I get a return call in a year?
Yeah, well, sooner than that.
Really?
Yeah, hopefully.
Are you going to talk about the beginnings of this show on your show?
Hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, you are a barber by trade.
Yes.
And I know you didn't want to talk about this, but
No, that's fine.
let's say you want to get a haircut and you want to have somebody that knows what they're doing do it. How do they be in touch with you and actually make an appointment with you?
Yeah, it's super easy. You just jump online, www.zachbogle, Z-A-C-H-B as in boy, O-G-L-E.genbook, G as in green.com. Super easy. Or you can just Google Paramount Barber & Co., and you can find me on all the schedules there, all the guys that I work with, a bunch of good guys.
I have become rather famous because I give you guys nicknames.
Yeah.
The Scissor Squad.
Yeah.
The hair Jordan, I can't lay claim to. I don't know who did that, but Jordan Jordan Peterson is the boss.
He's the owner.
Are you the underboss then, the consigliere?
Probably the pit boss.
The pit boss.
Yeah.
Okay. But I have so much affection for this guy because he did business the way I did business, the way you start, raise money, open, work your butt off, pay off your debts.
Yep.
I just have a lot of appreciation for Jordan Peterson. So I hope he's listening at the shop.
Yep.
All right. Are you ready?
I've got a little news for you. Boss is doing a TV thing. He's in Hungary. And
he's in Hungary.
He unexpectedly had to bow out, but he apologizes. And
all right.
So
Boss,
live radio.
Talk to you next week, hopefully.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We love Boss. You know what we should do?
What?
We should get Pat Miletich on the phone. What do you think of that? You want to go to Plan B? I'll bring it up, okay, and then you can dial him up and see if he can jump on the phone, okay? And there's some purpose there, because we're talking about history and legends in this particular hour of the show. And Miletich, if you go back to his history, when he had his first big outing, I think it was in a high school gym, and he had 3 fights against guys that in some cases were about twice his size. And this, I think, was bare knuckles, and it was in Chicago, Illinois, or in a suburb of Chicago. And Pat is huge when it comes to wrestling, loves wrestling, football, etc. But when you talk about a rough and tumble guy with an ability to think, this guy developed something called the Miletich Fighting Systems. Okay, Monty Cox wrote the rules for MMA, which largely have been used across the country, right?
Yep.
And with Monty Cox. And Pat has had an incredible impact on the sport as we know it today. I remember doing his first set as a commentator. He was the commentating. It was Hilton Coliseum, and I said, "I'll stop talking. I'll squeeze your knee." And he looked at me and said, "How hard?" I said, anyway, but Boss Rutan unable to be here. Pat Miletich out of the box into the cage. He joins us now. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing good, Scott. It's great to hear from you, buddy.
Hey, thank you for taking the opportunity. I was actually going to call you and see if you wanted to do next week, so I'll jump ahead. Welcome to the show. It is USA Takedown on ESPN. We're talking a little bit about your career. Take us back to a gym. I believe it was hot, if memory serves. Sometimes my memory paints things differently than they actually happen, but take us back to a night you actually fought 3 guys and won against guys that were much bigger than you. When was that?
That was a couple of events, actually. Battle of the Masters #1 and Battle of the Masters #2. Everybody they were pretty big guys. I mean, I think they averaged, I don't know, anywhere from 215 up to, I think there was a couple guys that were probably 250, 260 in there. And they were both, 8-man tournaments, no time limit, no rules. It was, I think what was outlawed back then was eye gouging and biting were the only 2 things you couldn't do. So
what about fish hooking? Could you do fish hooking?
At the time, I believe you could.
Wow.
That is one rule they never talk about in pro wrestling anymore. No fish hooking, no eye gouging, no crotch grabs.
Yeah, now they have the rule you can't stick your fingers in any orifices on the human body.
That's probably a good rule, right?
Well, it's a general thing.
Yeah.
You know, when Buffer's done introducing the fight, he holds the microphone around, and the official, Herb or whoever, Eve, any one of the officials will say, No sticking your fingers in any orifice. I heard him say that. Did he just say that? But that's true. That's true. Pat Miletich,
if you put your finger in my mouth, I mean, it's probably going to get bitten, so you don't want to do that. But, the other orifice, I don't.
Speaking of biting, Mike Tyson, okay, and Evander Holyfield, the chat out there was that they were going to fight, but Tyson has announced yet another fight that he'll take, I believe, in September against Roy Jones Jr. What is your thought? What are your thoughts on that fight, that matchup? Tyson, I got to tell you, I've talked to him on the phone. I've looked at his videos, his training videos. Dude looks good. Thoughts on the fight?
He looks really good. I mean, the footage that they're sending out there, you can tell that they've sped the film up. They're filming at a different speed, and you can recognize that by how fast his trainer's turning his head, how fast his trainer's eyes are moving, and observe people around the room, and you can see that people are moving faster than they're supposed to be. So, I mean, it is what it is, but he still looks great and he's moving great.
Mm. What about Roy Jones?
I haven't seen Roy training a whole lot, only, a little bit, and he looks like he's free speed, and he still looks pretty dang good. I'm wondering how that fight, will go down, whether, they're saying it's an exhibition, so that I don't think they're going to try and kill each other. I think they're just going out and making some good money and fun, and, a lot of people get to watch two legends in the ring going at it. So, I mean, that'll be fun. It's, probably similar to what Michael Nunn and I did. Michael and
I was just going there.
Did a 4-rounder, and Michael's still fast as hell, moves great. Yeah, he didn't like the kicks.
No.
And I wasn't.
He got bony legs, though, Pat. He got bony legs, and you're like a surgeon, man. You could pick apart somebody with bony legs pretty quick.
Well, I mean, I kicked him a few times, but again, we weren't there to put each other in the hospital. He cussed me out the next day when he said his legs were pretty beat up. I didn't kick him a whole lot, though. That's not why we were there.
Why were you there? Why did that fight take place?
Really, Mike wanted to get his name back out there. I wanted to launch an internet pay-per-view company, and I wanted people, as this COVID thing went further and further down the road, and more of our freedoms were being taken, I wanted people to get out and have a glimpse of what their freedoms are supposed to look like, to be honest with you. No matter what side of the argument you're on, this solution is quickly turning out to be much worse than the COVID problem to begin with, and it's going to cost millions and millions of Americans their jobs, their livelihoods. They're going to have to go on the government dole, and Thomas Sowell's words: "You allow a government to feed you, you therefore allow a government to starve you if they so choose." And so I'm just a person that believes strongly in my fellow citizens' freedoms and the future freedoms of my children, and so that's probably the biggest reason we followed through.
Individual rights, by the way. Zach Bogle, true American. You talking to another one in Pat Miletich.
Yeah, Pat, I got a question for you on the undercard of that, or I don't know if it's a co-main event or not, but on below that Mike Tyson fight, you have a YouTuber, Jake Paul, versus a former NBA star, Nate Robinson. They're going to do a boxing match as well. Do you like the celebrities kind of trying to get in here and get in the ring, or not a fan?
Well, I think it's great that they're giving it a shot. I mean, when pro football players would come to me, to my gym when I was coaching athletes and wanting to give it a try, we were enthusiastically excited to go up because, the endurance needed for football and the endurance needed for MMA, are two totally different realms, and those guys would find that out pretty quick. But I still think I just played at the high school level. Football's one of the greatest sports ever created, but it's at the same time, especially at the Division I NFL, one of the most brutal sports you could ever be in because there's so many bodies flying around at high speed and smashing into each other. That's a rough sport. So I've got a lot of respect for those guys.
Are there any Division I wrestlers currently that you think would be able to see in the octagon someday?
Oh, there's a ton of them. I mean, if I were to go back into coaching, I've said it before, number one, it's going to take a a large corporation to sponsor the team. I'm just not going to mess around, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to find, those blue chip wrestlers, and I know exactly what type of wrestler I would look for, and it's the type of wrestler that can hit a single leg from 15 feet away from you, very quick, very agile, type that has great footwork that I can, easily teach, boxing, Muay Thai, and submission grappling to, types of guys.
There's a lot of super gyms kind of nowadays. Do you think that you're kind of one of the first guys to put, so-called super gym together?
Well, I mean, look, a lot of people say that we were the first, whatever, the first to, but, Ken Shamrock did a good job with the Lions Den. The shoot box team down in Brazil, did a great job. They had a bunch of very versatile, very dangerous fighters. But I think we were the first ones to truly put the wrestling mentality into MMA and MMA training, and it was, when I had probably 40 to 50 guys in the room at the same time that were all ranked in the top 10 in the world. When those guys would travel, they'd say, "Hey, do you mind if," because traditional martial arts is kind of cultish. It's a little weird. But MMA is a little bit different. For the most part, there's a few coaches out there that don't want their athletes to be exposed to other systems. I don't know, for fear of losing the athlete or whatever. Absolutely go. While you're there, you might as well take advantage of it. And generally, what I would get is they would come back and they would say, they have some amazing technique. I learned this, and this, and I'm like, awesome. This is awesome. But they would also say, those guys don't even train hard. Like they'll just like wrestle for a little while and sit around and talk. Then they'll wrestle a little while, sit around and talk. And there was just none of that. You just had a wrestling room. Certainly in the state of Iowa, you were there for 2 hours. You're either drilling constant technique, working on your endurance, or pounding the hell out of each other. And that's the way we trained.
Okay, so I'm a gambling man. October 24th, you got Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. You got a prediction for that?
Well, I mean, I give Khabib a little bit of an advantage there. He probably, but the thing is about Gaethje is his pace is amazing, and if there's a guy that has the ability to beat Khabib, it's certainly Justin. So that's a hell of a fight. I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time as an athlete, as a coach, and as a broadcaster, and to be honest with you, I'm not even remotely interested in watching most events on TV. I just don't even. I've been around it so much that I'm not missing anything. But that's a fight that I'll actually tune in for. So it takes a fight like that to get me up off my wallet to even pay a dime for something, because I've been around it so much to where I like talking about other things.
Do you enjoy the commentating side more than the coaching side?
I enjoy, all of them. As an athlete, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it was a lot more. I don't know. The coaching was really satisfying, because you were truly part of helping kids realize their dreams. The broadcasting, I just try to serve a purpose of educating the fans, making them maybe bigger fans of it because they understand the sport more. I try to be the why guy, not on a replay saying, here's a right hand by Joe Smith landing. Well, they can see that on their TV. I try to do my best of explaining why that right hand landed or why that takedown worked, on both sides of the equation, so that people can go, oh, okay, I get that now technically. And in all aspects, I guess I just tried to serve a purpose that made sense.
Yeah. So right now with the whole COVID and stuff, there's not fans. Would you change your approach as a coach? Would you maybe not speak up as much because they can kind of hear you the athlete can hear you a little bit too well?
Say that again.
So there's no fans right now because of COVID. Would you change your coaching approach because maybe your fighter can hear you a little bit too well? Would you maybe tone it down a little bit?
I mean, to be honest with you, and it's kind of frowned upon now, is we were very seldom did we ever just say what we wanted our athlete to do. It was more about pressure. It was more about, okay, be smart. Okay, stay off the cage, whatever, just basic stuff. It was never, okay, throw a 2-3-2 or, that leg kick, throw that leg kick again. We didn't do that. It was more about, we were like a pack of jackals in the corner. We were harassing the other fighter. We were messing with him mentally. You're getting tired. You're getting tired, Jimmy. We can see it. You're getting tired. And just messing with them to the point where, we would even have a couple fighters. What was it? Jens Pulver was defending his title against Hallman, who had beaten Matt Hughes twice, and he was fighting Jens Pulver. He dropped in weight to try and take Jens's title, and he couldn't take Jens down, and he wanted to get Jens to the ground to work his submission game, and he just couldn't get him down, and he kept trying to pull guard and just play that game because he didn't want to go to sleep from a knockout punch from Jens Pulver, who had a thunderous left hand. And he kept doing that, and we kept yelling at him, be a man, either get a takedown or stay on your feet, either get a legitimate takedown. That's our wrestling mentality. And eventually, in the fifth round, Hallman's all beat up. He's exhausted and just frustrated. And about a couple minutes left in the round, he's on his back after he tried to pull guard, and Jens is standing up above him, telling him to get back up, and we're yelling at him, and he looked over at us, and he said, F you, and flipped us off. And so when that fight ended, we were going back to the locker room, and Bernard Hopkins and his guys were sitting right behind us, and he goes, and that's where that phrase was coined, was he goes, dude, you guys are a pack of jackals in the corner. I've never seen anything like this.
That's right.
And that's just it's a rough sport. You got to be ruthless with people. It's a mental game, right?
Well, you are king of that, my friend. Miletich Fighting Systems in place soundly for many people because of you. Pat, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks for jumping in. We've got another substitution in the game plan today. Boss Rutten on location in Holland, unable to make it. Who steps in? But Bruce Buffer.
Oh, shoot.
Bruce Buffer.
You need to check on the black oxygen, Scott. I'm going to send you some. Send me your address.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you some black.
I'll text it to you during the break.
It's going to change your life. It changed Boss's life, and it changed my life. You're going to love this, buddy.
I'm all about it. I'm looking forward to it. I'll text it to you in the break. How about that?
Thank you, sir.
Pat Miletich will tell you more about that in coming weeks, and hopefully I'll get on this product and make a difference in my life. You want weight loss, want more energy, want more focus, black eyes, they got it going on. Back after this, more USA Takedown on ESPN.
The coverage of wrestling and MMA continues after this timeout here on USA Takedown, only on Iowa's sports leader, 1350 ESPN.
Communities need leaders. The birthplace of Bob Feller, Van Meter, Iowa, has two. Paul Szynski and Jim Sinclair have always been there for their community and for the thing that drives us, wrestling. In a position to help or need a cause to get behind, your neighbors and friends can use a hand. Leaders always come together to help, to plan, and to work to make their communities a better place. So special thanks to Jim Sinclair and Paul Szynski, two examples of men who lead. Follow these two professionals on LinkedIn for investment opportunities and more.
Your path to recovery isn't like mine.
You have your own struggles with mental health issues.
Your own challenges with substance use disorders.
You also have your own abilities and strengths.
But when you need a hand,
reach out until you find one.
For information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Defense Soap Facts. Dateline, Cleveland, Ohio. For 12 years, he competed. For 17 years, he coached. And for 30 years, he's policed the streets of Cleveland. He saw teams and programs decimated by skin-borne disease, a wrestler's worst nightmare. He didn't like the chemical-based products on the market and knew that there had to be a better way, a better defense. He found religion in the ingredients that make up the basis for Defense Soap: tea tree and eucalyptus oil. Defense Soap, all natural, safe to use. It's available around the world now at defensesoap.com.
The wrong financial decisions can undermine the best intentions. Whether concerned for your business or your family's financial future, Trent Weatherman will develop a plan, identifying your goals, and set you on the path to financial security. Trent makes plans for people, no matter your goals. Trent has access to top-rated products and services to help you meet them. In April of 2019, NerdWallet identified Northwestern Mutual as the best life insurance company. Northwestern Mutual is in the top 10 U.S. independent investment broker-dealers in the United States. See the difference for yourself at TrentWeatherman.nm.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. It is USA Takedown on ESPN. We're talking MMA. We're talking wrestling each and every Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Bogle, Casper, the True Americans doing it up right. We've had some interesting... One of the questions I know, Josh, you wanted us to ask Boss, who is in Holland on a shoot, apologizing profusely on a text message. You know, these guys, wonderful guys. He's got a great question about a Swedish bar fight. Now, we won't give you any more of that until Boss gets on the show, but it's a very entertaining story, and Boss is very eloquent in his telling of said story, so we will get him on in the future shows. By the way, you'll expect to hear this program each and every week throughout the year on Friday mornings on ESPN, and I like that opportunity to talk to everybody. You're sitting at your desk, you're in the factory, you're in the shop, wherever you are. Maybe you're in the gym. We want to hear from you. Give them the Twitter handle, Zach, if you would.
The Twitter handle is at USA Takedown Show. It would have just been USA Takedown, but I believe that was taken, so we got the next best thing.
Next best thing.
You can also like us on Facebook, USA Takedown Radio Show.
All right. So in my effort to get our next guest on the show, and he's been on with me before, but he is an exceedingly talented talk show host, aside from being the announcer, the voice, if you will, the voice that roared for the UFC. He is Bruce Buffer. Bruce, how are you, bud?
Hi, how you doing? Great to be on. I appreciate it.
You know what? You've been entertaining us for so long. I can't thank you enough for providing the stability, the class, and dedication to the task that you have for the UFC. I hope that they appreciate you as much as the fans do.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, listen, I get along very well with Dana White and the powers that be, and we're one big team, and I appreciate your kind words. Yeah, the appreciation comes back. I'm very passionate about what I do. I always throw my passion on the floor, and I'm more passionate than ever, and I'll continue to do that. God forbid it ever wanes, then you'll hear I'm going to retire, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Who said that anyway? I was going to even ask you that. Is it true? Because, you know, it's like they say the rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated. Well, the same thing with retirement. Who would put that out there?
I get asked it all the time, how much longer I'm going to be in the octagon. I just want to assure everybody that it's going to be quite a number of years. Not a problem.
Kenny Rice, a friend of yours, friend of mine, Kenny Rice, will tell. It's been reported that he's retiring as well. Well, I got news for you. Most of us can't afford to retire anymore. That word is almost a word of the past. You know,
yeah.
And it's not just money.
Exactly. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, we live in a very changing world right now. Call it the Twilight Zone, call it whatever, but history is history, but we're actually making history now to moving forward. So I hope everybody's staying safe and sane and dealing with everything properly and being safe in protocol and all that we have to do.
Hey, Bruce, my name's Zach. I'm Scott's co-host here. Today's my first day on the air.
What?
I had a question for you, though. Last night I was sweating. I was going to get stuff wrong, and I was thinking about you. Have you ever mispronounced someone's name wrong?
Sure. I mean, you know, in 25 years almost now of announcing, I mean, it has happened, or maybe I miss a certain phonetic or syllable of the name. But actually, the easiest names for me to say are the biggest, hardest, longest names, like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Names are the single syllable names, such as, you know, like Frank Trigg or Mike Swick, you know, to draw those out and make those sound. But I'm only human. And the thing is that the few times that I've done it over 25 years, it's a matter of rolling over it where nobody notices.
Right. Well, and as an announcer myself, announcing the World Trials or the World Cup or the Olympic Trials, Olympic trials are a little easier because it's all Americans, right?
Yeah.
But even so, you've got, guys that are from other countries that happen to make their home in the U.S. now. I've struggled with it, but then once I recognized phonetically, if you break a word down diacritically, a name, it becomes almost rhythmic. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that, Bruce?
Oh, absolutely. It's like singing. You know, it's like you're singing out the name. And without question, every name has its own rhythm. It's a matter of attacking and finding that proper rhythm.
All right. Your brother has a slogan. You have a slogan that's one that you coined. In other words, something you say before the main event. You may even say it at the beginning of the night. What inspired you to yours? And let's face it, that should be on your business card if it is not.
Well, it is. And my phrase is, it's time. Michael's, of course, is, the legendary great announcer of all time with his famous Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And Michael and I met each other, you may know, as half-brothers when I was about 29 years old. We did not grow up together, and we went into business together. I'm his manager. I have been his manager for almost 30 years now, building the brand. And when I got into the world of announcing, I didn't want to just be trying to emulate or copy, the great Michael Buffer. I wanted to develop my own style, my own this, so I wasn't trademark-driven. It's time was not part of my routine in the main event back in the beginning. I would start off the show by saying, it's time to begin the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and draw up the championship like, championship, that kind of thing. And then Dane and I met, to get the audience stirred. And I always say it's not what I say, it's how I say it.
Right.
And then I start every day when I'm shaving or whatever, looking in the mirror, and I have for years, it's time, meaning I want to have the greatest day ever. So I realized at the main event, at this point, the fans have been watching for 5 to 6 hours. The fighters are trained for 6 to 8 weeks or more. It's all coming down to this pre-ultimate moment. It's time. This is what it all comes down to. And that's where It's Time was developed from. And over the years, it became the jumping emotional, It's Time that I do, because I just throw everything I have into it.
It's apparent.
Make sure that I enhance that moment for these fighters and the fans as best I can.
I got to tell you, and the reason I asked you about it, I was wanting to take a clip and insert it into our show open. And the people here at ESPN said, "Oh, you got to get a written signed permission slip from Bruce." I said, you automatically assume that it's okay because we know each other. You've been on my shows, et cetera, Couture, et cetera. I mean, if you look at the guest list on our show today of Couture and Rashad Evans and right before you, it's a who's who. And then Boss skips out, and I go, we got to get Bruce. But would you have been offended if I had added that clip in the show open, the official show open here on ESPN Radio?
Well, I wouldn't have been offended. It's just in business, because it is a formal trademark, and all use of it has to be licensed through my company.
I see.
So at my website, brucebuffer.com, I get calls, or rather emails all the time, from radio shows and podcasts around the country, around the world, that would like me to do a special recording for them, which we do, and then give them the license to use it. That's the way business has to be done. It's the same way Let's Get Ready to Rumble is run. If you own a trademark and you let people go out there and rampantly use it, and again, with all, politeness and courtesy involved here between you and me, I understand what you're saying, but it is a business, and once you get the business acumen of what it is to market and own a trademark, if you ever get a legal situation, the government can say, well, what about this radio show you did it for? And they'll say, oh, what did they pay? Or something like that. There's legality issues that go far beyond the obvious.
Well, so they were right. I was assuming.
Oh, they were right. ESPN is actually, I've actually had to deal with ESPN themselves on SportsCenter, with all politeness. And I work with ESPN, but business is business.
Yeah.
Business is business.
God bless you for that. Let's go to Zach Bogle. Zach?
Yeah, Bruce, are you aware of the Buffer 360, and will we see it again?
Well, that was a one and out. I mean, I could get up and do one right now if you want.
Yeah, it's all right. I can't see you.
But I mean, the aerial 360 jumping up and doing that, I mean, that was a pre-ultimate moment for me in my career. Street shoes, tuxedo, 20,000 people, and millions watching on TV to pull that off. But Joe Rogan and I actually talked afterwards, and I had this attitude, and he reinforced it. If you want something to really stand out, to do it once.
One and done.
One and done.
One and done.
By the way, you have become quite a clothes horse, a styler of. I mean, the outfits you're wearing. I can't imagine what your walk-in closet must look like.
It's got a lot of tuxedos in it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I have.
I'll finish a show. Put the tuxedo to the back of the rack, and make it to the front maybe about 6 or 8 months later. I kind of don't want to wear the same outfit twice, gentlemen, except for my classic black tuxedo, which is always a good one every 4th or 5th show.
Bruce, we love the passion that you have. We are grateful that you're an important part of the presentation of our sport. Nobody does it better, and you can say what you want about your brother and the greatness that he is, but we love you, and we love what you do and how you do it. And I appreciate you jumping on the show this morning.
Thank you so much. Again, your kind words make my day, and I really appreciate everything, past times I've been on. I wanted to just tell you one thing. I just had a big meeting in 3 weeks or less. You're going to see on social media if you follow me on Instagram at Bruce Buffer UFC, but coming out with my own bourbon. My partners and I are releasing the finest quality bourbon you'll ever drink. and I think you'll enjoy the name or like the name. It's called Puncher's Chance.
Let's go.
That works.
Yep,
Bruce, we'll have you back on. I'll get you scheduled. We'll have you back on to talk specifically about that when we have more time. I don't want to brush by it, but I'll call you up and we'll get you booked.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day, guys.
There we go.
Thank you.
Apparently, it's time for a new bourbon. How about that? Zach, it's been a wonderful first 2 hours. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's flown by.
USA Takedown, 9 to 11. And you know what? I want to thank all of our sponsors. You'll find them on our website. I want to thank Danny Bishop, our producer. I want to thank, of course, Joshua Relitz and his family, my family as well, for allowing this last transition into what you are hearing today. Tune in next week more as we bring to you the great announcers of the sport. That'll be next week on USA Takedown. I'm Scott Casper for Zach Bogle. Thanks for listening and have a wonderful rest of your Friday.
All guests on the USA Takedown appear on the Defense Soap Newsmaker Hotline. Made in the USA with unparalleled quality, and it's guaranteed. Defense Soap. It's what the pros use.